YouTube, this is 3zinferno, so I'm here to talk to you guys today about Grapha and his minions, the Dark Worlds. Now, I know a lot of people aren't expecting to see this, but I really think it's one of the tier 2 decks that can make a difference, just like Elemental Heroes. Reason being, Dark Worlds are one of the strongest decks that can main deck Skill Drain. Skill Drain is a really important card right now. Like I've said in the other videos, Skill Drain works against every top meta deck. Dinos, windups, Insectors, even Samurais. The only one that's not as good against is Elemental Heroes, but okay, doesn't exactly matter. Grapha's 2700 beater, 3000 with gates on the field. Rabbits have a hard time running over big beaters, and cards like Drag Down lets you see your opponent's hand and get rid of cards as well as mind crushing and things like this, and getting rid of your opponent's cards. So I feel like Dark Worlds can play excuse me. I feel like Dark Worlds can actually make a difference in this matchup. Also, reason being is, let's talk about the big three again. Maxx C, Veiler, and Fiendish Chain. Maxx C is not especially good against Dark Worlds. If they do run tour guides, which most people won't run tour guides if they're running Dark Worlds and Skill Drain, Maxx C is at most usually a 1-for-1, and it's just to stop them from graphing. And most of the time that's a -1, because all they have to do is normal summon a Brow, and then you have to discard Maxx C because Grapha is an inherent summon. So you cannot chain Maxx C when someone bounces their monster for Grapha. You can't chain Maxx C because it's an inherent summon, like Mocking a Fortress. It doesn't start a chain. So you have to discard the Maxx C before they even bounce the Brow to their hand to special Grapha. Veiler doesn't do too much against the deck either. It works against Trance Archfiend mostly, and especially if they're not running Tour Guide and things like this, Veiler doesn't do anything to that deck. And Fiendish Chain, I mean, it'll stop Grapha from attacking and things like this, and it'll stop Trance Archfiend again, but most likely Fiendish Chain won't do too much. So the big three aren't that good against the deck either. So that's why I think Dark Worlds can make a real impact on the YCS. Main decking like 2 Skill Drains and things like this. What I feel about siding against Dark Worlds, MSTs and Dust Tornadoes are really good against the deck because of, you know, you pop their gates and things like this. I keep saying things like this, you're right, you guys are right. I'll try to stop that. But you also have cards like Shadow Imprisoning that you already side for Insectors, as well as DD Crow. Those are good cards as well. What I found interesting is also, if you side Decree, Decree is also useful. But it's a weird thing. I saw someone side Shadow Imprisonings and Royal Decree, and he won the game. It was very interesting because what happened was, he had Shadow Imprisoning, and he had it out for the longest time, and he had Decree set next to it. And then when the Dark World player finally drew the MST to pop the Shadow Imprisoning mirror, he flipped Decree, and all the traps that the Dark World player had set were negated. And he's like, oh crap, like, that's not good, because that's the only way he could survive. He was setting his warnings and all this stuff. So then the Decree won in the game. But I find it interesting. I wouldn't side Decree, mostly because Dark World side in MSTs. I would just do it for the Shadow Imprisonings and side in DD Crows, and just, yeah, I don't really like Decree in that. So I think Dark Worlds can make an impact, and I advise you to watch out for them. They have a strong game 1. Siding, they're not as strong, just like Insectors. They have a really strong game 1. Game 2 and 3, they're a little weaker. So always make sure to account for Dark Worlds, because that skill, if you're playing them and you're playing game 1, always in the back of your mind, always think if they have a Skill Drain. And because if they have a Skill Drain and they stop your plays, that's not the best. So you always want to save your MSTs. Save your MSTs and just set them instead of activating them, unless they flip Skill Drain. Then you chain MST. That's why you mostly want to save your MSTs for Skill Drain. But if you have to, you'll set your MST to blow their gates, just so they can't go off on you. So it's really, MSTs are a really important card in this matchup, and you have to make sure when to best utilize it. That's probably the one biggest tip I have for you. And sometimes you just have to go all out. Even if your opponent, your Dark World opponent, has 2 back rows, sometimes you just have to push for game and hope that it's like a bluff, like a deck devastation or a reckless greed or something like this. Because it's just, you might have to do it. Because if your opponent has skill drain face up and you have to just push for game, just reborn stuff and attack for game, you might have to. Otherwise, you're gonna lose anyway. If they just get a Grapha back out, you'll lose. So sometimes it's just balls to the walls and just drop everything and push. Because I played a Dark World with rabbits before, and it was game 1. He had 1 back row set, but no, he didn't use any torrentials, and I just went rabbit into 2 Sabersaurs, and I reborn another one, attack for game, and he was just like, okay, like, yeah, that's game. And I was like, okay. And then game 2, it was like the same situation, except he had 2 back rows, and I already had Thunder King face up, and he was at like 45, and I was just like, well, whatever, rabbit into 2 Sabersaurs, attack with everything. And he just looked at me like, how did you do that? Like, you just reckless. And then for me, it was just like, well, I have to, because I can't make anything big enough to stop you if I don't like just destroy you right now. So sometimes you just really have to just go against your conservative instincts and just drop everything and attack. I mean, not to say be reckless, but sometimes if you know like you have no other choice, you have to do it. You can't stay conservative and maybe hopefully draw a dark hole or something like that. You can't always do that. So that's just my advice to you guys. Alright, so I'll be at Frankensons on Wednesday, so if you guys see me, just say hi and all this. And alright, thanks guys, 3zinferno signing out.